Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to EIG's first in a series of guest panelist webinars focusing on maximizing your production and warehouse capacity, looking at three perspectives: real estate, ERP, WMS, warehouse management system, and automation. We have our guest panelists today, Darren Lizzack, John Cosgrove, and Dani Kaplan, and we'll hear from them in a couple minutes. We appreciate you taking your time to attend today's webinar on building an evolving resilient enterprise, as well as supporting EIG's 100 webinars. And we hope that your family are healthy and safe. The webinar is focused today on maximizing your production and warehouse capacity. And we have a number of webinars upcoming after this webinar. On a monthly basis. The next one will be focused on the financial impact of automating ERP and WMS and Internet of Things. And the next webinar will be on applying AI in production warehouse environment from a CIO perspective. Then we'll get into the state of material handling and warehousing. And then we'll get into digital twins. And then we're looking at optimizing factory operations from a CFO perspective. So we hope you can join us in those future webinars. If you have any other thoughts of webinars, please let us know. Again, thank you for joining us. We have an esteemed group of colleagues here from real estate to supply chain to ERP. So we ask each of them to give a brief introduction of themselves, starting with Darren.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Darren Lizzack. I am a real estate advisor with NAI James E. Hanson. We are a family-owned commercial brokerage firm based out of Teterboro, New Jersey. Third-generation family-run operation. We're in business 70 years in 2025, so we're going to hit that mark very soon. I've spent my entire 24-year career with the same organization under the leadership of Peter Hanson and Bill Hanson, who's now the president of the company. My team does focus in healthcare, as you might see on some of my information on the slide later. I got my start in the business as an industrial broker, and I still do a plethora of industrial transactions. You're going to hear some more about that as we move forward. I will also say that I run a trade organization that I started at the direction of Peter and Bill Hanson, started about 17 years ago, called CREA United. It's a trade organization comprised of real estate advisors from many different aspects of the industry, from architects, engineers, contractors, bankers, attorneys, CPAs, so on and so forth. Today we have 7 groups up and running, about 100 members, and I encourage you to take a look at our website at some point. And I think I'm going to pass the wand now to the next panelist. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. Dani?
Hi, I'm Dani Kaplan, represent supply chain software, manufacturing, distribution, and food. It's a single database. In today's reality of supply chain issue, you have to know what your available inventory is, afterwards allocate to production or future orders, and when the next shipment will come down and which product to buy. Not having the information result in production disruption, order cancellation, excess inventory, with usual cash flow issues.
Thanks, Dani. And John?
John Cosgrove, good morning, everyone. I'm the co-founder and president of Atlantic Handling Systems here in New Jersey. We are a division of Mayberry Material Handling, which is up in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. The combination of Atlantic and Mayberry makes us one of the largest material handling companies in the Northeast. Atlantic Handling has been in business for 20 years, and Mayberry Material Handling has been in business for 45 years. I'm the former president of the Material Handling Equipment Dealers Association, which is the largest material handling dealers association in the country, about 800 company members, and I've been in this industry for over 45 years.
Thanks, John. And a little bit about myself. I believe that success starts with discovering the untapped potential of all your employees. And I've been in the business for about the last 35 years as a master black belt in supply chain transformation, and worked in and out of Fortune 100s to Fortune 1000s to startup companies. With that, we're going to get into what are the deliverables today. The deliverables today are, first, challenges of optimizing cost per square foot on delivered products. That's our main topic. Our second topic is optimizing production warehouse facility capacity. And then we'll get into embracing the footprint capacity with production warehouse technology and storage automation. And then the fourth deliverable today is unleashing the power of a unified database and intelligent systems. And then we'll get into some case studies. So with that, we'll do some introductions for each of the companies. Darren?
Yes. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I run Team Lizzack Horning at NAI James E. Hanson with my partner, Randy Horning. We also have multiple people that are part of our team, but no one really interfaces with them very regularly. Randy and myself are the face of the team, but we do have our own executive administrator behind the scenes. We have a marketing team. We have a research team operating out of our office. I also brought on a summer intern who is still in college and doing some work for us behind the scenes during the work year while he's up in school in New Hampshire. And I just hired a second intern that's going to be joining us this summer because we do have some growing pains that the team is faced with, and we're trying to get ready for the challenges that lie ahead for us. As I mentioned before, we do focus very heavily in the healthcare space, but my company, NAI James E. Hanson, is comprised of about 70 individuals. We do asset management, property management. I think we're managing about 12, 13 million square feet out of our Teterboro office, which is where our headquarters lie. We also have a satellite office out in Parsippany, New Jersey, and we are part of NAI Global, which is based in Manhattan. And I think we have about 5,000 professionals in 300 offices in the United States and overseas. So that said, I also run the trade organization CREA United, and I'm happy to say John Cosgrove, who's sitting here with us today, is a member in the industrial group, which I run with Randy Horning and Jessica Curry out of our office in Teterboro. We meet once a month, and we get around the conference room table, and we have conversations about what we're seeing out in the marketplace, what industry trends are taking shape, what problems are our clients encountering, and how do we take steps to overcome those issues. Most of the issues that we face are not solvable by one individual. It takes a multiple level of disciplines to solve the problem, which is why getting together once a month and collaborating with all these professionals is something that I value dearly, and it has been instrumental in the growth of my career.
Thanks for that overview. So with that, John?
Okay, a little bit about Atlantic Handling Systems. We've been we design, sell, and install material handling systems. We're a systems integrator where we can take automation and we combine that with the hardware that's necessary to produce a good result for our customers. So our associates have been in the industry for over 40 years. We provide customers in a wide range of industries, everything from pharmaceutical to we've done work for people who build boats. Whatever it takes, we can do. So there isn't much that we haven't seen, and we are one-stop, full-shop systems integrator. And what we do is we work with people like Darren in the real estate industry and with Dani. You know, we're going to turn it over to Dani in a minute, and Dani does the ERP and WMS, which integrates with our systems and provides the intelligence that we need to make our systems run.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Dani?
I'm been doing I'm doing ERP consulting, supply chain consulting since the 80s. And for the past 25, I represent a company called VAI, the $45 million, 200 employees, 5 locations nationwide, Caribbean, Canada. The main issue today is supply chain issue. Inventory coming on time, they delivery resolving disruption. It's important to have warehouse automation as part of the system. If not, you have broken links and finger pointing by different vendors. It's a full, what represents a fully automated supply chain software, warehouse, manufacturing, distribution, with real-time information of inventory available after allocated production, of future orders, when it will come in, and how much to buy.
Thanks, Dani. And just a little bit of background on Enhance International Group. We're a group of 50 companies that provide education, consulting, and software as a service solutions. These are the best in breed companies, like what our guest speakers today are. And we really believe in this whole strategy execution ecosystem, and we have partners to help you on your way in each of these. Of course, this week we're focused on the facility infrastructure, and we're always looking at ways for you to gain and maintain your competitive advantage. With that, we'll get into the agenda. And first, we'll get into the challenges of maximizing production and warehouse capacity. This is where we will ask you to participate as much as possible on what your struggles are. Darren will give us some real estate options and what he's been able to accomplish recently, a different perspective than our previous webinars. And then we'll get into what do we need to automate and optimize the facility layout and automation. Again, it's how we all work together in order to achieve that for you. And then we'll end with some case studies. With that, the first question is, what are the challenges to maximize production and warehouse capacity? We see these few ideas here, from resources to make changes, space, funds, lack of capital investment, it looks like. Those are all really good things. And what we're going to do is, if you could keep entering those in, we're going to look at those in a few minutes after we look at what the top challenges, what ChatGPT has said. The top 4, there's 8 here, but we'll talk about the top 4 first and do a round robin and enter things in the chat, please. Supply chain disruptions. These are the hottest topic today, like the webinar we had last week, is in geopolitical disruptions, from the wars in Hamas, the Straits in Yemen, to elections. There's over 50% of the world is in elections this year, so that's causing a lot of socio-economic disruptions that are causing supply chains to stagnate this year. The other is labor shortages, which we're seeing less of that now than we were a year ago, but it's still an issue of getting the right people in the right place. And then the third is technological integration and automation. How do we automate what our systems using the latest technology? And then energy and resource costs are obviously going up, and energy is a big call. So with that, I will turn it over to the team to have them share their comments. Anyone want to go first?
I'll go first if you want, Jim.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, today's seminar really comes down to a lot of our clients are looking at what they should do as far as moving forward. And one of the reasons we brought Darren on today is to talk about real estate, because it really comes down to, this webinar is about, should I stay or should I go? Should I stay in my current building or should I go? Should I automate? Should I, make better use of my space and make myself more productive by using Dani's warehouse management system along with his ERP? So we felt that today, to bring us all together, it would go from that. So we just got a question in the chat I saw. If we decide to move, can we reuse our existing equipment? And oftentimes we do that based on what you have. We can try to integrate what you have and move it and then bring in automation to work with that. I've done it several times, and it's something that you really have to look at. It's a great savings for our clients if we do that. And maybe Darren can talk a little bit about like the state of the market right now when it comes to commercial.
Absolutely. So I think you have to dissect it into two categories, the sale side of the business and the leasing side of the business. I'm going to tackle the sales side first. I think the industrial market has been experiencing a tremendous ride over the past 10 or 15 years. And I think what's happened recently is everyone has let their foot off the gas. That's a really good way to explain it. I don't think the industrial market is challenged with some of the problems that I see in other sectors. I see, leasing is still being done, and the sale market is what's been extremely difficult. You've got a limited supply of inventory on the market. That's been the case for many, many years. And if you look at the trend of sale prices of industrial property, it's been staggering. The growth in that sector. I remember when I started in the business, you'd see industrial rates at $4 or $5 a square foot. Now we're seeing rates where office buildings tend to rent out in the 20s, even $30 in that space. That's an astronomical growth. Let's talk for a moment about the lease. Oh, by the way, before I move on to leasing, in the sales side of the business, the biggest change has been the capital markets. Over the past 12, 18 months, interest rates went up from the 4% rates that are, everybody wishes they were back. Those days are probably gone forever. We may never see them in our lifetime again. But I think the way to explain it is it has been normalizing. So where rates are today, probably in the sixes, that has had an impact on seller expectations and buyer expectations. And if you look at the sales volume in 2023, it was off by probably 60 to 80%. I could tell you in my own world, it was off by 90% on the sales side. The leasing side of the market is holding very steady. I don't see the growth that we've been seeing in 2024, but rents are still creeping up a little bit. Inventory has opened up. I'm seeing sublet space available in the industrial sector. A lot of leases are getting renewed. I hear this from all the industrial brokers in my company during our sales meetings. Renewals today are still much higher than the rates that they were paying in the previous term. If you signed a lease 5 years ago and you're up for renewal now, you're probably in sticker shock with what your landlord is going to tell you your renewal rate is. And the first knee-jerk reaction is, I'm moving. And our advice is, well, hold on a second. You may want to reconsider saying that. You got to go explore the market and see what your other options look like, because those rents are also very high today. Now, I think there has been an opening up in the marketplace. I think there are deals to be had. On the sales side, I think the only people that are selling industrial properties today are selling because they have a real need to sell right now, not because they want to sell right now. And I think the sales that are happening, many of them are all cash opportunities without any financing. I'm involved with one right now. It's a 35,000 square foot industrial building. You got multiple buyers at the table. I'm reviewing 4 different offers right now. The space has been on the market for a very short time. We are already above our asking price. And the owner said to us, I'm not considering any offers that are subject to financing, and I want to see proof of funds. So a lot of the players are eliminated from the game. And what you have left are people that have cash, and people with cash tend to be king.
So based on that, Darren, maybe we turn it over to Dani, because what you're telling us is a lot of people are going to renew their leases. So what we need to do to help them to cover those new costs for what they have to pay is provide intelligence. So I think, Dani, you can speak to how we can make people more productive with your WMS and give my hardware the intelligence it needs to make them more productive.
The main issue is today is having integration, integrating your supply chain software, your ERP software with the warehouse. Not being able to have it, you will have integration issues. Broken link, inventory will not be accurate, and multiple vendor, and then you have the hopscotch jumping from one vendor to another vendor. Broken link resulted in inventory not being accurate. That results in production disruption, order cancellation, which lead to a dog chasing instead of excess inventory in the warehouse, which increase the issue. So you must have integration between a warehouse and the software. Multiple vendor will not work.
Thanks, Dani. Yeah, I think that's a very important point. You know, it's the third point here on the top challenges is that technological integration and automation, Dani, that you're talking about. You're making a great point. And the nice thing about that VAA platform is that it has complete integration, not only with ERP and the floor, but ERP and MRP. So everything that goes in and out the door, you'll be able to see complete visibility in real time. So it's pretty advanced system that's out there, VAI. So how to optimize that space is a huge benefit.
So Jim, we just got a question that maybe Dani can answer. We're concerned that buying new ERP software will result in business disruption.
That's a major issue that I hear quite often. And I have a big prospect now. It's a beverage distributor, and he's buying a 200,000 square foot warehouse. And my answer to it was, there is absolutely no business disruption. We build a test environment, convert the data, the legacy software data to the test environment. We check the information every day, making sure it's accurate. The users are being trained in test environment, assign each department an expert, accounting gets a CPA, warehouse expert, forecasting, purchasing. And before they go live, we make sure everybody is proficient in what they're doing. If they're not proficient, we postpone by 1 month. After they go live, the technical team and support team stay on site until they're convinced that everybody's proficient. The analogy I use is give me a 3-year-old child a bicycle. You put two more wheels, making sure they're comfortable riding the bike and take the 2 wheels off. The same thing is the technical team. The hardware support are all programmers. Every issue occur can be fixed immediately, regardless what caused the issue.
Thanks, Dani. We have another question coming in here that's came in about 10-15 minutes ago, was presenting options to pharma clients with a balance of presenting automation and possible AI for the warehouse area with the additional upfront cost, really focusing on the material handling. John, you want to kick us off on that?
Yeah, AI's entrance, of course, is like steamrolling into the industry. So actually, our next webinar, we're going to have an AI expert on here. But, one of the things, of course, with pharmaceuticals is you have to worry about compliance and all the things that they're doing. But, we're finding more and more that as AI and technology becomes more affordable, like any other technology, the more it's used, the more it's coming down in price, that people are beginning to investigate that. And, when we integrate companies, it could be something as simple as putting in a conveyor system that automates them. But, we are seeing more and more robots today, and more, we know that AI is going to be the future. There's no doubt about it. I just was down at the MODEX show, and there was so much talk about AI. And that's why we've decided to have our next seminar on the AI, what's happening in the industry.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people saying they're using AI. I think we as John mentioned, sometimes we get hyped on the magic button AI, and that's going to fix the problems. You still need to put in the conveyors. You still need to move the product or the raw material around the warehouse. So don't get too caught up in the latest AI trends. Understand your process flow, map them out, and optimize those. And don't look for AI to optimize a bad process. A bad process is a bad process.
Right. So Jim, I just got a question in the chat. If and when we decide to automate our warehouse, do you recommend a gradual integration or a full-scale integration? So that's very pertinent to what we're talking about today. You know, if you're going to move, of course, we're going to do a full scale on the hardware and my part of it. But, you know, on Dani's part, a lot of times people will try to implement the WMS and ERP before so that you're not doing both simultaneously, because it can be a bear and you don't want to move into a whole new facility and have people trying to do both at once, try to learn those systems. You know, especially people you know, who are, if you're moving, but if you're reconfiguring, we can do it. But on that, I recommend a gradual integration. You know, we can do certain sections, certain parts. If you're doing e-commerce, you know, when you do e-commerce now, we have to do returns. So we can do a separate section on that and get that started for you and then work from there. So we develop in those cases a master plan, and then we can pick and choose what part of the integration we want to do first and last.
Great point, John.
I just noticed a question from an anonymous attendee about how to determine whether to build versus lease a new warehouse space for a particular client, how to determine whether to look into offsite versus on-campus for a warehouse space. Is there a list of criteria? Do you have an available tool or spreadsheet to use? All very good questions. The answer is yes. We do have criteria to follow, and we do have to analyze situations separately. So if you're going to analyze a lease scenario, that's got one set of criteria. If you're going to analyze purchasing as another set of criteria, it involves financial modeling. It involves communicating with people like Dani and John and your accountant and somebody who does cost segregation. There's so many different ways to pull resources into the fold to do that evaluation. And I think you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. So I welcome that person who made the question to reach out to me offline, and we can continue this discussion.
Thanks, Darren. I'll just open it up here. If there's additional questions on regulatory compliance, space constraints, demand, just trying to get you to think of different challenges that you have out there in going on. We can go to the polling question. It looks like, you know, lack of funds, lack of investment. Maybe, Darren, you can talk about how you can start getting that ball rolling from that perspective.
Sure. I will say that as interest rates rise and the cost of capital goes up, people start reevaluating what they're going to do. Value engineering is a term that I'm hearing a lot right now, because if you had plans to do a major capital improvement, with the cost of construction being up over the past couple of years, I'm not seeing that going down anytime soon. I'm seeing it level off from all the contractors that I'm in touch with. There are other ways to borrow money besides your traditional lender. SBA funding is another source. There's other private equity groups out there that are lending money, but their money is expensive. So I think that dovetails back into the conversation we're having today, where you've got to work with the resources that you have, and automating your warehouse, I think is a huge thing that everyone should be considering given this environment, because you may not be able to go buy a building. You might have to continue renting either where you are, or if you need to expand, you've got to look at the available leasing options in the market. But as a rule of thumb, you've got to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and I just want to reinforce on the investment in upgrading your warehouse. I can safely say that all of our offerings have an ROI that's less than a year. So you're going to get your money back within a year. So don't look at it as, you're going to get your return in 5 to 10 years from an investment. We work with you to get that ROI of less than a year. So something to strongly consider versus trying to do something that may not provide the benefits. But with that, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to move to the next section with real estate options.
Well, there's a question in the chat.
You want to go back to the chat?
Yeah, there's a question in there. I want to combine my company's ERP/WMS data with other internal systems, QMS, CMS, etc., in a company-wide data warehouse. Does the ERP/WMS offering enable programmatic exporting of raw data for this purpose? So I guess that can go to Dani or you, Jim.
Yeah, Dani, why don't you go ahead?
It's important to automate your warehouse along with the ERP. It's a major factor. People in today's reality buy a standalone warehouse thinking they will keep the legacy software and interconnect to the warehouse. They also get separate CRM and separate e-commerce. And then when there's a broken link, it's AT&T blaming Verizon, Verizon blaming T-Mobile, and you have to fight with the vendor whose fault it is. It's crucial to have one vendor for everything, and then a seamless integration. And then you know that what you have in inventory after you allocate for production or future orders. Because if you don't have the control and what you net inventory, if you don't have this control, you end up with production disruption and order cancellation, which create the domino effect of the business disruption. You get the inventory back from the supplier, and you have more. Your warehouse space become even higher.
Thanks, Dani.
So just to comment on that, Dab, because I understand what you're doing, and you and I have talked about some things. I know that the integration between Dani's VAI software and a lot of things works. One of the things is that what we talked about, which is, there's a automation that comes out of Europe, and it's called a vertical lift module. And the vertical lift module can store over 9,000 square feet of traditional storage and only 150 square feet because of the footprint. We can go up to 52 foot high with it, and it's it's for a picking situation, and it's great technology, and a lot of people are turning to that. But included in that, there is a warehouse management package that would feed back to Dani's VAI, which would then send it back to the ERP and say that it had been picked. But we would use the WMS on that vertical lift module at that time to make sure that we're picking efficiently, and orders would be fed to us from the VAI software.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, the VAI software offers that centralized database of all your information and linked to Cognos BI so that you can have that reporting through a centralized data mart of sorts. So that's one of the other advantages of the VAI system, is centralizing all that data and integrating it into a one-stop location. So with that, I think we have the next section from real estate options. Darren, do you want to bring us through these?
Sure. So you're looking at a snapshot of one of the landing pages on NAI Hanson's website. You go to naihanson.com and click on the market reports, and you're going to come to this screen. We monitor and produce reports on the industrial market, the office market, the retail market, the healthcare market, the Meadowlands market. We just released the first quarter 2024 market, so you don't see the image there, but it is up live on our website. So I encourage you to take a look at it at your discretion. I don't want to go through all the details of it, but I can tell you it mimics what I mentioned earlier. You know, there is a little bit of a breather in the marketplace. We experienced negative absorption in the first quarter of the year, down about just over 1 million square feet of leasing. Not to say that there wasn't leasing activity. We still leased about 3 million square feet in the first quarter. So deals are happening. I'm not seeing a drop in pricing. I'm seeing a leveling off of pricing. About 1.5 years ago, if you called a broker and asked them what the rent is on a particular building, they would tell you a different answer depending upon the day of the week. That's how frequently the pricing was going up, and all the brokers across the industry stopped quoting rents. If you look on CoStar or LoopNet, it'll just say pricing withheld. So you'd have to call the broker up to get the information, and you call up on a Monday, the numbers would be different than Friday. I think what's happening right now in the market is it's leveled off. You're seeing more inventory hit the market. You're seeing inventory sit on the market for a lot longer periods of time. Even new construction. There's a lot of space that was newly built and delivered to the marketplace, and those spaces are waiting for the right opportunity. I think the owners of those properties that are well capitalized, they don't have to take a deal, so they're waiting to see if something better is going to come along. But in the past several years, you'd wait a little bit longer and another better opportunity presented itself. And that's how sellers get leverage. If they have multiple groups interested in a property at one time, they can dictate what the price is going to be. It's really basic economics. So let's move into an example of an industrial sale. I want to take a little bit of a different spin than what you might be anticipating. This is a building that's around the corner from my office in Teterboro. And I was contacted by a CPA from Eisner Amper, a big CPA firm, if those of you don't know. This gentleman was a trustee, and he told us that he had represented this client for many years, and the owner of the building used to own the business and did a sale leaseback, sold the business, kept the real estate. And because of the deal that got signed, the rental rate far exceeded what the market could bear. And the lease was coming to an end. The company was moving out, and they didn't know what to do. So I got on the phone with the CPA and my partner, Randy, and we had a conversation. He said to us, I can't sell this building and give the money to the kids because they're going to just go spend it. And I have a fiduciary obligation to the father who passed away to make sure that doesn't happen. So what do we do? Now, we could put it on the market and find a new tenant, but I told him the expectation is that the rents are going to be far lower than what the market can bear. That said, the sales side of the industry is still very robust, and I'm going back about 2 years ago. So it's not something that happened in the last few months. So the market was a little bit different, but we found a buyer for about $4 million, $200 a square foot. And the interesting thing was we were able to 1031 exchange into several properties to diversify the risk and offer a return somewhere in the 6 to 7% range, if I remember correctly. Now, there's a couple advantages to owning commercial property. One, you can depreciate the asset and you can deduct the interest expense from your mortgage. Well, as time goes on and you've taken all that benefit, when you go and sell the property, you're going to have to pay Uncle Sam what's called a recapture tax. I believe that's around 25%. Plus, you're going to have to pay capital gains tax. And if you've owned a property for 30, 40 years, that number could be astronomical, in the neighborhood of 40%, 50% of the sales proceeds. And when an owner hears that, the first knee-jerk reaction is, well, I can't sell. Well, the tax code, the 1031 exchange, which has been around for 100 years, this is not something new, that if you follow these guidelines, and they're very strict guidelines, which you'll be able to get some information on this. I have a a pitch deck that I could send you, or Jim will send you if requested, and it'll give you some of the rules of the 1031 exchange. But we were able to successfully take the funds from the sale and park it into 4 income-producing properties that were all leased by publicly traded companies. So long-term leases create stability in the market, and it was used as really a tax strategy to preserve the capital.
So Jim, I have a question that came in. When estimating the size of a proposed warehouse, which criteria trumps decision-making? Peak demand or max on hand? So I can speak to that. What we try to do is find out, what's the nature of your business? Do you have a season? Are you doing things for the holiday where, in August, your warehouse is full and it's at peak and we need to ship it all out? Or are you having supply chain issues? So what we try to do is establish a percentage of growth over a period of years so that we can determine, what size warehouse and what we need to do. And some of the things we're doing are we're going to narrow aisle racking. We're going to high density storage. We're doing things like we talked about before, this modular, and we're trying to condense and do more with the cube you have. We will build mezzanines where we can do a structure where we can mimic what you're doing on the ground now. Above that, if you need to double your capacity, if you have a high enough ceiling. So that's the thing. And when you're looking for a building, height is really the criteria that you want to take a look at today, that you'd be able to operate in a building that's high enough for you to meet the criteria of these peak demands or the inventory that you need to bring in, especially with the supply chain issues. I don't know if Dani can speak to that a little on the supply chain issue part with the inventory.
The supply chain become a big issue today with the Red Sea disruption, ships going around Africa, and the unpredictable delivery. Google, AP and Google have an article about Volvo and Telsa in Europe stopping to manufacture certain parts because of the production disruption. So you have to know what your net inventory is afterwards allocated to production or future orders. You have to know what to buy, when to buy, and how much to buy. And the cheapest vendor is not the best vendor if it has unreliable delivery timetable. So having analytic software combined with the WMS software and the ERP software help you determine when to buy, how much to buy, and whom to buy from. Another issue is because of supply chain issue, people buy now more than they should to prevent getting caught short of inventory. But that has a double-edged sword. The warehouse is overstocked, you run out of room, and your cash is tied in with the inventory. The banks are often reluctant to lend money when you have too much inventory. The Best and Beyond would exert a good lesson for everybody. So you really have to keep your inventory at minimum, but not running out of it. And we have analytics software tell you when to buy, how much to buy, whom to buy, and what products are moving. Product A moves at 90%, product B moves at 60%, and product C is a dog. So it's the combination of the all is what you have to do.
Thanks, Dani. Darren, do you want to just close out on this exchange webinar?
Absolutely. We're going to send over a link to another webinar that was put together by my fellow members at CREA United, and it dives into the details of the 1031 exchange. I don't want to dwell on the details. You can always watch the webinar at your discretion, and if you have questions afterwards, you could reach out to me. But thank you.
Thanks, Darren. With that, I just want to kind of show everyone how everything fits together. We've been talking about these 3 solutions, but John, you want to kick us off here on
Sure.
how we fit together?
Sure. We talk about the high density space utilization. If you look at the picture above that, there's a lot of wasted space in that warehouse. And all that height is being paid for whether they're leasing or they own it. So what we really need to do is begin to use the height of our buildings, use our cube, and use it in a way that we're productive. And what I talked about before, the vertical lifts that we do, we've been quite fortunate to be able to provide 4 or 5 of those in the last couple of months to customers that have really increased their square footage use. So that's great. And it, you know, a lot of things about automation is it creates order integrity. You don't have people serpentining through the warehouse. Now we're actually bringing, you know, the product to the person, and the person can make picks, which increases the picks per hour. And, you know, it's like some of our other seminars we talked about, we can go to pick the light and use technology like that, pick the light, put the light, voice click. So there's a lot of options with technology today. And then we get into robotics as a whole nother world. Robotic palletizers, we can have robotic people at the end, robots at the end of our sortation system that'll divert and put packages in, whether it's UPS, FedEx, United States Postal Service. So all of these things are options that we can explore if you're ready to do something to help try to increase your productivity and get a bigger return on investment.
Thanks, John. And Dani?
Having the ERP software integrated with the warehouse as one-stop shopping is crucial. That eliminates a broken link that creates inaccurate inventory. And with today's labor market, that people, you can use the smartphones instead of a RFID for a $400 phone instead of a $4,000 RFID phone. And by first implementation, but having a test environment, you can run your business. There is no business disruption. There is no parallel. And when you're ready, you just pull the plug, you go from one system to another system. We have a case study for a company I brought in 10 years ago, they were $100 million. Imperial Dead, it's on my website. Today they're $1 billion, but using a test environment. As they buy companies, they use a test environment where they're proficient, they join the club as they go to the main system.
Thanks, Dani. And the third leg of the stool, so to speak, is, you know, your future business operations. And this is looking at it more from an ecosystem perspective, the real estate, the system integration, aligned productivity, and driving that real-time visibility for execution. And so Darren will share with us the real estate perspective on how this all links together. Darren?
Sure. So I think, you know, everybody involved in this conversation on this panel is mission critical to having success in the future. As interest rates rise, the cost of things get more expensive. You got to figure out how to become more efficient with what you have. I mimic what John said a moment ago about taking advantage of the height in the warehouse. I still see this in many warehouses that I visit, and I'm looking around saying, you're paying all this rent, but you're not using it. I've got a situation up in Mahwah right now. The tenant's been there for 30 years. They're finally moving out because they don't need the height. Their business operation doesn't warrant that. But I think companies that do utilize the height can make do with a lot less if they integrate the systems that Dani and John can help out with.
Great. Excellent point, Darren. And going into our last section with some case studies, I'm going to turn it back over to Darren on your next case study here.
Yeah, this one I just wanted to bring up because similar to the last case study, we had an owner who was looking to retire, didn't have any children in the business. Some of you might know the Patterson Paper. They were there for many years, and I got introduced through their accountant. They said, I need some help with this building, and we put it on the market. We found multiple buyers relatively quickly, and I tried to convince them to do a 1031 exchange, and I found a FedEx deal or I'm sorry, a little company called Amazon down in Texas. There was a 20-year lease in place. I was trying to convince the owner to do a 1031 exchange, and older people who are focused on their business for 40, 50 years, they don't pay attention to everything else that's going around them. And I think that's common practice. It doesn't make them a bad person. It's just, everyone's stuck in their own little world, right? Everybody has tunnel vision. And I tried to convince them, unsuccessfully in this case, to do the 1031 exchange, and he opted to sell the property and pay almost $2 million in $2 million of the sale proceeds to Uncle Sam. That's something I want to avoid going forward. I told this owner, I begged this owner to do this, not for me, but for his children, who were going to benefit from the cash flow that we were going to generate for them for the rest of their lives. That's the only reason I bring this up, because I think it's very important to have an understanding of taxes and the consequences of selling a commercial asset that you've owned for many, many years.
Thanks, Darren. Great story.
Thank you.
With that, John, going to your case study, please.
Okay, yeah, we have a European packaging company that we've done work for, and we went up and saw them, and they had some height in their building, and they store numerous parts. What they do is they manufacture in Germany, and they bring the parts over, and then they assemble these machines that people use in packaging of food and so on and so forth. So what happened was they had 60 units of shelving throughout the whole warehouse, which took up a lot of space. They were 4 foot wide. So what we did is we came in and we took the shelving down, and we put all those parts into this vertical modular lift, where what happens is this vertical lift, we can go up and we can retrieve a tray in 25 seconds. We can queue another one behind it. It has its own warehouse management system within it. So what all the operator has to do is scan a barcode, the tray will come down, and there's a laser that points directly to the part. So we did this all in, 9,000 square feet of storage. We did it in 150 square feet of floor space. So it's a big return on investment. They can lock it up at night, and now it's freed up all the floor space, and they've opened up 2 more production lines where they assemble these packaging machines. So it was a big return on investment within only 1 year for them.
Thanks, John. Fantastic case study. Dani.
That's the case study of today's reality of M&A, merger and acquisition. A worldwide manufacturer bought a distributor and had 3 systems, which was a kiss of death. The raw material, the plastic raw material and the finished good dropped to 90%. The body VI software, the company represented for 25 years, 96 locations went live with no issue at all, and today they achieve 99.5 accuracy. That's the advantage of having 1 system instead of 3 systems. That basically, if you want to take today's reality, take a Mercedes engine and a Toyota some transmission and put it together. It does not work. Multiple ERP systems create integration issue, broken link, and inaccurate data.
Yeah, Dani, I love this case study because it shows how you can crawl, walk, run over many different locations, and how it can help grow your company, which was an earlier question today in the chat. So thanks for sharing that. Really nice. With that, we have this summary here. I understand this is a bit of a eye chart, but it really is a summary of all the financial impacts that can be achieved by leveraging these 3 great resources that we have here, from warehouses to ERP, WMS to real estate. So I ask each one of them, starting from left to right, John, if you would just kind of share, achieving these types of benefits gets you that ROI of less than 1 year. So a lot of people will say, well, I can't do it now. I need to wait until we have money, but you won't have money if you keep waiting.
Well,
So,
It's the old story. It's kind of what we said before. Should we stay or should we go?
Yeah.
And this is if we don't change, we're going to die. So one
Yeah.
of the things we see more and more are people that we talked to years ago and haven't embraced change, and they're floundering. So we can, automation can help us reduce cost. It can increase productivity, which helps you sell more, keep your customers happy. And, of course, there are big ranges. We can increase accuracy from 30 to 90%. And, it all depends on how much technology you want to use. And, one of the things that I always look at is I want to make sure we use proven technology, stuff that's been used. There's a lot of things that people don't use currently that they have been in use for years, but they just don't know about it or they don't do it. And that increases your throughput. And of course, we talked all day today about space utilization. And I know that Darren talked about the prices and the sticker shock that's associated with the real estate today.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Dani?
That's a typical case why you must have the ERP in the warehouse automation as one software. If you have separate ERP and separate warehouse, you take a chance of broken link. Broken link result in wrong shipment. The department store create a new way to make money. They call it chargeback. Not only they return your inventory to you, they penalize you. You build $100,000, you get paid $70,000. That's issue number one. Issue number two, you lose control of your inventory. You have, because the broken links create an inaccurate inventory. Material issues. If you run out of inventory of the raw material, production comes to a standstill. And the RF device gun, you can use a smartphone instead of a gun. With today's labor issue is a very important thing. Having the seamless integration of the warehouse and the warehouse, the return are quite high, as you can see. And you can have multiple locations, knowing in what Dallas has less inventory, Minnesota have more inventory, use a common carrier instead of buying inventory from Minnesota.
Thanks, Dani. And Darren, you want to close us out?
Sure. So I think the biggest takeaway should be that things never stay the same. That's the one guaranteed thing in life is change. And I think everyone needs to learn how to pivot and make adjustments along the way so that they can continue to survive and prosper going forward. I was on the phone with a partner from a very large accounting firm, and they told me that when QuickBooks first came out, all the accountants thought they'd be put out of business because the software could do all the work for them. And there's more accountants today than ever before, and they're all extremely busy. And the conversation came about because we were talking about AI, and they said that they are hyper-focused on AI. And I think that's an upcoming topic on one of your future webinars, which I think everyone should pay attention to, because if you're not getting on the bandwagon with AI, you're going to be left behind. And it's hitting every industry, every sector. We're all going to be impacted by AI. And I think if you embrace the technology, you're going to be able to generate higher income. You're going to be able to reduce your overhead by becoming more efficient, taking a warehouse and utilizing the height of the building by automation. It all comes together. And I think I'm going to end there.
Oh, that's great. Thanks. So with that, we're going to close out the webinar. Thanks for everything, everyone's participation in the webinar. We hope that we achieve the deliverables that you expected from the webinar. We do have a webinar, as they mentioned, of automating ERPs and system integration in your warehouse will be the next webinar. And then the AI webinar will be coming in June. Again, thanks for your participation. With that, I'd ask each of the presenters to provide some closing thoughts. John, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Just want to let everyone know, I hope we provided you some good information today as to your future. This is all about strategic planning. And, these are some of the things that you can use, some of the items that we spoke about today, be it real estate, automation, and of course the ERP and WMS. They're all integral, and they're all crucial for your success. So I want to thank the other panelists. I think we had a good, robust discussion today.
Thanks, John. Dani?
I can't stress enough how important it is to have mother-end ERP software that connects that integrated straight to the ERP and the e-cameras and the CRM, because with today's supply chain reality, not having it, you're going to run into shortage of inventory, production disruption, and order cancellation, result in excess inventory in a warehouse and cash flow issue.
Thanks, Dani. And Darren?
So I want to end by saying this. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedule to watch us this morning, and I hope you got some good takeaways from this. I think we live in a world of who you know, not what you know, and I didn't invent this, so I'm not taking any credit, but you want to put the right team together. And, John and Dani and myself and many others, even in CREA, my company, we all bring something different to the table. We all have different strengths. And when you put the right team together, I think you're guaranteed success, because everybody is looking to help each other out, and we all bring something special to the table. So thank you again,
Darren.
everybody.
Yeah, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. We are living in a VUCA world, and in a VUCA world is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, and it's only getting worse. It's not getting better, so to speak. And understanding all these different perspectives is the key to be able to scale and grow your companies, especially in these upcoming years. And we do really appreciate all of your participation and feedback in this webinar. Please do come back to us and ask us questions individually or as a team. You have our email that was sent out this morning, and we look forward to you joining our future webinars. Thanks so much, and have a great day.